Tesla's moving fast now, and two big news stories just dropped. First, we've got a date now. Bloomberg is reporting that Tesla will launch Robotaxi on June 12th. Elon Musk also confirmed Tesla already has vehicles driving around with no one in the driver's seat in public roads. Second, Elon Musk has announced his time with Doge is coming to an end. Tesla bulls are getting excited while bears are expecting failure. Which will it be? We've got the bulls here with us today. Of course, we have Tesla boomer mama, the queen, Alexandra Merz. We have Cern Basher, the bot bull, and Joe Bhakdi, the pioneer bull. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Herbert.
Hi, Herbert.
Hi, Herbert. Great to be here.
It's getting a lot of fun now. We finally have a date. This is from Bloomberg. We don't have confirmation that this is right. Let's talk about Robotaxi. Bloomberg is saying it's June 12th, but Elon did drop this post. He said this: for the past several days, Tesla has been testing self-driving Model Y cars. That means no one's in the driver's seat on Austin public streets with no incidents, a month ahead of schedule. Then he said next month, first self-delivery from factory to customer. So first of all, this is amazing. So they've been already testing it out. I think we heard from Bloomberg, they're saying that there was a engineer in the passenger seat, but regardless, you have self-driving Model Ys already in the public streets being tested. Elon says a month ahead of schedule. Owen Sparks, or just guy, said, hey, a big step forward for sure. If I fly into Austin end of June, will I or anyone be able to test out the network, or is it going to be invite only at first? He said, sure. I don't know if he's saying just for you, Owen, or this is, no, it's not invite only. This is now going to be open there except for geofenced area. Bloomberg did write an article before this, and they had said that they had heard from a source, individual source, that June 12th is the date, a person familiar with the matter, that it was unreported, discussed internally, that could still change. And then they did already say that in preparation for the launch, the company this week operated a test vehicle on public roads. So that part was true, no one in a driver's seat. And apparently, this is what they're working on here, that it's happening now. Alexandra, let's start with you. What do you think about this? The company and the product. I don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. I enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
The longer term opportunity for Tesla is like no other company that I've ever seen.
Sure. So the first thing I noticed, it's a Thursday. And for those of us who have been with Tesla for a while, things always happen on Thursday. So the June 12th date may be right. I had heard earlier dates, but what I had heard, wasn't really a reliable source or something very precise either. It was just, early June. Is the 12th still early June? Who knows? I think there's a couple of things here to unpack. The first one is the delivery directly to customers. This is, it's exciting. He had actually promised that for the end of the year. Now it's happening in June. So this is very good. It could be very close. It could be a 10-mile. It could be a 20-mile drive. But it's wonderful that these cars are going to self-deliver. Nobody has ever attempted that. And Tesla is going to be the first one, and they will do it successfully. The second point is his response to Owen saying, sure. I agree with you. I wouldn't say yet that, anybody can just download the app next month in June and then just hail their Robotaxi. I think that is premature. Now, between general public downloading and invite only, there is a span of things that can be in the middle, Could be that, Tesla owners can download it first, or that it's part of actually initially the Tesla app. If you have a Tesla, you have a Tesla app, maybe it's on there. And those will be, so that's not invite only, that's already a larger group. So I think there are multiple scenarios in the middle between, invite only, where only very, very few have the access to it, and the general public. I think there's going to be something in between all of that. But the good news is that in 2 weeks, we're there. In 2 weeks, on Thursday, the 12th, latest, I would say, we're there. We will have these cars drive around. We'll have the whole world staring at it. We'll have the whole MSM media waiting for the first crash and analyzing anything and everything. So this is going to be an exciting couple of weeks, and then they will scale it. They will double the number of cars and then double it again as soon as they're comfortable with that So I'm very excited this is happening. Been waiting for this moment for a long time. And obviously, as it always is with Tesla, we already know 3 steps ahead what's going to come after that, because now we're getting all excited for the bots. But I think we should enjoy this moment because it is so very special.
No, thank you for that, Alexandra. In some ways, it does appear that Tesla's actually ahead of what we're thinking about. So first of all, Cern, what did you think about when he said that we've already been testing this? So it makes sense that they don't want a big fanfare, no big announcement, just test it and don't need to tell anybody and then slowly get it out there. But also this, I don't know if you guys saw this. This was, I don't know how true this is, but these are photos taken of California cars, the Model Ys in California, but these cars have these TCP kind of designations on them. And that is a government regulation, transport something that basically some people are saying, if you have that label, that means that you've been approved to have driverless testing, at least in California as well. There's 6 of these cars. See that California license plate. So why
wait. Let me just jump in here. TCP is tourist carrier permit. Right. Tourist carrier permit means, any Uber has it or any limousine driver has it. So TCP by itself doesn't mean anything autonomous.
Good point. Thank you for correcting me. You're absolutely correct. But it's still the fact that they're actually testing it now, or they got some sort of in California. Maybe they're even doing that. Cern, tell us how you are expecting it to roll out. I know you said geofence and you were correct. That exactly is what Elon did prove, what you were predicting. What's your thinking about how this matches what you were saying?
I think they want to be very careful about putting out a date because there are a lot of people, this may surprise us, there are a lot of people that don't like Elon and hate Tesla. And wouldn't it be fun to disrupt a Robotaxi event, right? So it'd be better probably for Tesla to quietly roll it out to the invite-only list, probably earlier than June 12th or whatever it is. That would be how I would approach it, I think, if I was looking at this, because I think there's significant risk of some kind of disruption. And so the sooner probably they get this thing going and have it roll out and just be part of normal life in Austin, Texas, the better. It makes sense to me now that they probably don't necessarily want to have a whole lot of fanfare.
And then what about how it's going to be rolled out? Geofenced.
Well, I think that just makes sense in terms of just building up the confidence that the vehicles can handle anything and everything that's in the Austin area. I'm not that familiar with the city. I don't really know sort of what the potential issues might be in Austin. I've been through there a couple of times, but I'm sure every city has its intersections and issues that they have to deal with. And again, for a rollout like this, where this is the first one, you want to be super careful and make sure that the vehicle can handle every single situation you can possibly think of.
Thank you, Cern. And so, Joe, anything changed from what you've learned in the last day or two?
Not really. I was surprised about the California thing. I think this TCP, and Alexandra knows more about that than me, but I think it means they are allowed to do paid services. So it's not an autonomy thing, but it's a commercial thing, which is good, which implies they have commercial approval. I think I'm definitely laser focused in Austin on this rollout. And I think here's what should happen logically, right? They are going to roll out 10, going to make sure nothing goes wrong. And there will be no fanfare because they want to be cautious, as Cern said. But I think the fanfare could start very shortly thereafter, because if they see it works and they start doubling, then they want more users. So I think I would expect they're testing the waters, putting it tiptoeing into the water. If they see after a few weeks it works and they have 40 or 50 on the street, then they go into scale. And then at that point, they would start promoting this more to get actually riders, right? To get everyone's attention. So that's kind of the timing. If everything works seamlessly, I think within 4-5 weeks, maybe we get a little bit more activity on the promotional side, Elon tweeting or something that would make sense, right? Because you want to first be very cautious. There will be more people than you can supply robotaxis to in the beginning because you want to be cautious. Then you hit an inflection point pretty quickly if things go right. The good thing is if things go wrong, it's not going to be a big, no one might notice if you only have 10 out. So I would look into week 4, 5, 6, if things go right, to hear more from Tesla and Elon. Because then they would say, oh, it's perfect. And then they start promoting it, because then you want everyone trying to book a Robotaxi.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
Let me just jump in there one more time. I'm sorry to interrupt everybody all the time. If you go to LAX and you wait for Ubers, and the Ubers that pass by to pick up people are Teslas, they will all have the TCP number on the back. So the TCP number on a Tesla in itself is nothing special. It just means that you have applied to have a license to carry tourists. Tourist carrier permit, and then you can drive around your guests who are paying for the service. Any limousine has it. Those small buses for the hotels have it. So the TCP on itself, doesn't give me any indication that we're any further in California than we were 2 days ago.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. So I agree with what you guys are saying, right? So they will not need to advertise this or make an announcement until they get a bigger number, maybe 1,000. That's when they do it. So when they first launch it with just 10, what do you guys think about this idea that it doesn't need to have any, it's not invite only, like he said to this person, right? Yeah, you should come. Now, if that's the case, don't you think that individuals will be the ones to just take videos of it, announce it? And, is that big enough of an amount, is that going to create enough of a wave, or is it not really? If just individuals go, hey, I've got a video, TikTok it,
How will they hail it? Yeah. How will they hail it? Who has the app? That's the big question.
Yeah. But everybody that rides in a Robotaxi in the first few weeks, everybody is going to take a video of their experience. We're going to be inundated with videos from Austin in a very short period of time. The fact that Elon responded positively, now he said sure, which sure is a kind of a strange response. Wasn't that clear, right? Like, sure, we'll consider it kind of thing, or sure, that's going to happen. Like, it wasn't real specific, but it's encouraging. But the fact that he was encouraged that it would be available to the public by the end of June, to Joe's point about the ramp over the following 4, 5, 6 weeks, that tells me that they're looking to ramp this pretty quickly. Because if you open it up to the public and anybody can take a ride, you're going to need more than 10, 20 vehicles. Because there are a lot of people that I've talked to that want to show up in Austin this summer and experience this. And so the minute that people are aware that they can do that, you're going to have a rush of quite a few people to Austin to check this out. Tesla better be ready for that.
Yeah, and I think it's really the what is the hour of truth, or minute of truth, or week of truth, or something. Because when you think about, I always think, okay, there are shares and there are buyers and holders, and they have certain convictions and people on the sidelines. And the question is, of all the people who could buy Tesla shares or sell them, how many actually believe this stuff works? And the answer is definitely not 100%, probably 50% or something. Half of the people think, this is like, whatever, let's launch this, but I'm sure it's going to be a long, painful path before this works. So I think if this thing just works, it's going to be huge for the stock. If they just do it and Elon says, I told you so, now it's 1,000 Robotaxis and everyone books it, I think this is a complete catalytic moment. And because there's so many people who say, there's just no way, they're just going to launch this and wing it, and it's going to be a year and nothing works. I think that's the expectation a lot of people have. And I don't know the truth. We have to see what happens. But
I was going to ask you if you know what your guess is, because I know you've got your slow ramp, you got a moderate ramp, then you got an optimistic ramp. But what I was saying is that it's going to be slow and then fast, right? So it's going to be like 10, 20, then 100, and then 1,000. And then once you get to 1,000, what's the difference between 1,000 and 10,000? Like 4,000.
The question is it going to be 10, 20, 100, 1,000 in like June, July, August, September, or is it going to be 2025?
No, I think it's going to take a long time, because you need to have enough remote drivers to just in case scenarios. Mm-hmm. And then I think that scenario, you have to have that set up and all that. So, but it's, yeah. So, but you were saying about the stock.
Let me please quickly respond to is there an event question, which was part of your initial question. Well, I got a surprise for you. We had an event. The event was on 10/10 We Robot. We had an event. So the event took place. People were able to sit in those cars. Now doing a launch event in Austin is redundant. We don't need another event. We had an event. What we need is for it to ramp. But I don't expect Tesla, to have invites or to have a ribbon cutting or to have, anything ceremonial, because we had that. We had that 6 months ago, 7 months ago.
I think that's perfectly exactly correct. And then the only time that they will do it is when they need to educate people that we need customers. But when does that happen? It might not even be 1,000 cars. Even then, it might be so, booked already.
You're kidding, right? We don't need to educate customers that there is a product. Cern is completely right. This is going to inundate the web. Good or bad, by the way. If there is the slightest accident or hiccup, that's going to inundate the web as well. So let's just hope and pray that there's not going to be a major issue. But we don't need, publicity or anything of that. What we need is the next big announcement after we will have seen this avalanche of videos is the announcement that LA or San Francisco have approved it. That's the major, next step in the expansion curve.
And to Alexandra's point, I think that's, I'm always trying to anticipate week by week on my trajectories. What is the opportunity here? The alpha opportunity, the bull opportunity is we are following this. If we see scale, okay, this is hot. Now, on the other side, to Alexandra's point, of course it will be FUD, and it's guaranteed that something will happen. And if something happens that's ridiculous, like, oh, it took the wrong turn, or it's like it waited 5 minutes too long. And then you have Wall Street Journal title page, like Tesla goes to zero, like this thing was 10 minutes late or something. That's actually great because we know, okay, fake news, stock drops, panic, and we know like this is the dumbest thing we have heard again. And that these are great buying opportunities. So these FUD situations, that's why we have us here, the cyber bulls and YouTubers, right? We can watch this and it's about quickly making up your mind. Is this fake news again? Then it's buying time. Or is it something real? It's probably going to be fake news. But, that's going to be interesting, the first FUD situation, because whatever happens, they will blow it out of proportion. And that will be good for us.
Joe, earlier you were saying that, what's going to happen to the stock as this rolls out, even if it's slow. There are other people who are not bulls, right? In fact, now they're not only bears, but they pulled out of Tesla stock just on the eve. Black. Yeah, I've got his post here. Gary Black is an he's a portfolio manager of, and he was early with Tesla for many years. He's been following Tesla, but on the eve of the Robotaxi launch yesterday, he sold all of his Tesla. Now, by this point, he had already sold quite a bit of it. So it's just the final amounts. This is what he said, Gary Black, getting asked by a few followers today. So he posted this early this morning. Yesterday, we sold the remainder of our Tesla position at $358 per share. This is the first time since 2021 we have not owned Tesla. As in late November, which is the last time we reduced our Tesla position, after the post-election run-up, we believe Tesla's valuation has become disconnected from underlying fundamentals. Our main concern is Tesla now sells at 2025 PE of 188x. As earnings estimates continue to fall, we believe this part here, we believe the risk-reward associated with the Austin Robotaxi test remain asymmetrical to the downside. Finally, we're concerned that the new, more affordable vehicle due out in July will be stripped down Model Ys and not this new form factor that he's hoping for. So this idea that the Robotaxi test could be asymmetrical to the downside, that's him saying, right, that this Robotaxi as it launches has more chance to be a negative to the stock than a positive to the stock. What do you guys think?
Anything you talk about, Gary, you have to first say that he's long Uber.
Yeah.
Because that is just, I'm an all-in Tesla, so I can't even imagine splitting my head into being long Uber and short Tesla because it breaks my brain. But, when you have a position, you're not neutral anymore. He's paid by his investors to have a position. That's the position he chooses to have. So he's not going to say anything that's contrary to his position. And I just think we have to stop listening to people that have a contrarian interest to being long Tesla. I think our public is mainly long Tesla, wants to hear our view on being long Tesla, short-term view, medium-term, long, and not talk about, people that have opposite views. If they want to listen to them, they can subscribe to Gary or at least follow him, and he'll hear all about it 5 times a day.
Yeah, my view on all this, and this is actually what Gary blocked me for, was an interaction with him some time ago about his short-term thinking. In this post, he talks about a PE ratio on 2025 earnings of 188. Who cares? We're halfway through 2025 already. All of Wall Street's looking at 2026 already, or if they're not, very shortly. And even then, that's very short term in evaluating a company like Tesla. Herbert, you and I did a show not too long ago about looking at the hindsight PE for NVIDIA. And at one point in NVIDIA's history, it was trading effectively for 2 times earnings. At the time, it wasn't trading at 2 times the next year's earnings, but in hindsight, it did based on where the stock went. We're looking at the same kind of situation potentially for Tesla in terms of the acceleration in its growth. And so for Gary to write a post about, it's too expensive relative to this year's earnings, who cares? That's not even relevant. So, there's a lot more to discuss. I could pick apart his language in many different ways, but I think what Alexandra said there is spot on.
I think, Gary completely fails to, factor in the future at all. He's just not doing it. He's just saying there is no robotaxi. He's like in denial of future reality. He says there is just no robotaxi. We are all fantasizing about it. But when you connect the dots and you see what's happening, you look at FSD. I mean, I don't have to pitch you guys. You know everything about it. But just as a rational observer, it's just not true that there is no robotaxi. There is a robotaxi, and it's launching, and it drives itself. Now the question is, how well does it drive itself, and will it scale? But the idea that this never comes to play, that this does not come to play next year or the year after, is just not rational anymore. And the Uber situation, I mean, Bill Ackman is also in Uber, and he tries to do something. I think it's one of these examples. If you don't have a good understanding of the underlying tech and the projection, how the future reality will be different from the present reality and when this will be, then even smart investors can come to the wrong conclusions. You can say, well, Uber is going to win. It's like, no, I don't think so. Let's see.
Yeah, it's funny that they will always push the line, right? First, it's like, doesn't exist. Then it becomes, oh, sure, but it's only 10 cars. Who cares? Oh, sure, it's only 10 cars, but they have remote drivers. Oh, it just they'll keep doing this. But what about his concept that this, short term, just as a trader looking at this now, bears are saying this actually is a negative. Tesla, it's funny, right? They're saying it's a negative because when Robotaxi launches, there's more chances for it to go in a downside than it is in a positive.
Well, from a trader standpoint, absolutely. I mean, stocks can get ahead of, expectations for companies can get ahead of where the business can deliver. That's always a risk. And I can't really opine on, day-to-day, week-to-week stock movements. The market has so many different layers to it. And you might predict 3 or 4 of the layers correctly, interest rates and all kinds of things correctly. You might get all that right and be completely wrong about a company because something else is going on. And I think that's just where it gets very difficult in trading a stock. If that's what Gary's doing, then that seems inconsistent with his fund, right? As far as I know, his fund is not a short-term trading fund. He's trying to invest in companies and own them for longer periods of time. And maybe that's what he's turned into. I'm not sure.
Well, in any case, it's obviously not consistent with the name of his fund and his company, which are called Future Fund LLC and Future Fund the ETF. Because, I mean, if you really want to invest in future, it seems very odd to invest in Uber and not in Tesla. But there you go.
I find it interesting, the timing to actually divest all of your Tesla. You've been holding it for these many years. The eve of the Robotaxi launch, that's when you say, I'm done.
And I would understand, by the way, talking about trading, of course, always tricky to Cern's point. But in this case, we had, if you look at NASDAQ, S&P, where it was in December, where we are now, we are still underperforming these indices. We are way below all-time highs from December 17th. So what is the exact argument that there's so much downside risk? If we would be at 500 or 600, I would get nervous. I would sell my leaps here and shift into stocks or something. But no, we are underperforming the indices. We are under the all-time highs. We have this catalytic event. It's well designed from Elon, in my opinion, in terms of expectations. He says, well, it's just going to be 10 cars. Not a big deal. Let's see what happens. We are going to be very cautious, very slow. That's what he's saying. So the expectations are well calibrated, that there's more upside than downside, in my opinion. And the stock is not at all-time highs, far below. So I think it's a good setup, in my opinion. If I go through the scenarios, I think there's much more upside than downside right now.
His comment that we're actually a month ahead. Did you guys take that with anything at all, or is that just, hey, I just want to let you know we've already been testing this ahead of time. We don't need a June launch because we really kind of did already launch it.
I mean, it's great because it's so rare that he is ahead of time, right? He's always had this reputation of being late. So I think he got a kick out of typing that. But then again, we're on May 29th. We're not far away. Nobody will remember whether it was May 29th or June 12th. It will just become the new normal.
It would have been more fun if he said that they were ahead of time by about 2 weeks. That would have been funnier.
Exactly. Which on top of it was true. Right?
It is 2 weeks.
But there you go.
But I think in general, I just have a good feeling about it. And I want to be cautious because I have leave, right? If you have options, you have to be very cautious about timing. But I'm optimistic because this has been such a long time coming. We have so much visibility into version 13, all the different versions. People just come back with tremendous positive report. We know that there are pilots in California running. And now we know in Austin, they have been running extensively. So how the hell can this go wrong? That's the question at this point. Like really, they're doing all these things and then suddenly they launch 10 and they all like run into a wall. It's like, it seems not very likely. And you can tell that Tesla is very cautious, overly prepared on this launch and underselling it with 10. So these are all very positive indicators for me from a risk reward perspective.
Yeah.
And Elon is not a dummy, in case no one noticed. Elon is not a dummy. He's not he knows how important this is. There's just zero doubt. I just came out with a video about BYD and my predictions, the ICE OEMs are all going to implode next year. And what's actually happening is that the EVs, the entire EV industry is toast, in my opinion. China kills itself and everyone with it. They are over-subsidized. There's a deadly margin war. It's a total disaster. And Elon saw this way before me. I thought Elon made a mistake back last year when he said, oh, no affordable model. Let's just focus on Robotaxi only. I got a little nervous. Now it seems extremely smart, as always, right? Because I think you want to get the hell out of EVs. This is going to be deadly. And so it's good to push Robotaxi. So I think Elon absolutely knows how important this is.
And there's nothing to be gained by putting Robotaxi into the world if it's not ready. There's absolutely nothing to be gained. That would just be foolish. Now, again, accidents will happen. We should expect that. But if they're putting it out, if they're starting Robotaxi service in Austin, then they've seen the data. They believe it's safe. They know it to be safe. It's ready. Otherwise, you would delay it.
But I also want to add, they prepared all this in the worst moment of heat, right? They prepared all that between the first couple of months this year when the Elon hate was at a maximum, when we all got threats, when, it was really tough. So they must have thought this through, how slowly they want to roll this out. Because, if this is suddenly immediately available to all public, the cars actually become a political statement, right? And get vandalized and get used and get, and there are smart people out there trying to harm Elon and trying to harm Tesla. So by doing it the way they're doing it, it seems probably a little bit overprudent now, but go back 2 months and you wouldn't find it any more overprudent, and rather be a little bit too prudent now, have it with people initially where you can be sure they're just using it really for the right purpose, and then slowly rolling it out, making sure that, you have it, and also letting the steam of the novelty get out, and then it gets boring to see these videos, and then you can expand it.
So the one sentence in Elon's post that I think actually matters the most revealing, is a sentence down below. Next month, first self-delivery from factory to customer. So presumably this will be in Austin. When you buy a new car from Tesla next month, that car will come out of the factory and it will deliver itself to your house. So that means that Tesla's likely taking on the legal liability, right? The insurance for that until they hand the car over to you at your driveway. But this also means that, Cern, come on, man. That's what I was trying to goad you to tell me. Because if this is the case, that means that the geofence for this is not 2 blocks in Austin. It means that it's got to be almost anywhere in Austin. Or maybe it's like the first delivery. So maybe they might just say these 5 cars will do it this way just to, dip our toe into it. But this tells you that the confidence level is high. And for him to say next month, I know the 2-week thing can be the case, but that is, it just feels like if you're going to say something next month, then you pretty well should be confident that it can even be a possibility.
I sort of read into this that they're planning a number of things that will be quite impressive, and that would be one of them. Keep in mind, if you're the person that's going to receive this vehicle, there's a good chance that Joe Techmeyer will be following it with his drone, and he'll also show up at your house. So that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is all like part of the Elon coming back full time to his companies, getting out of Doge. And I think we will see, a lot of focus on things. And there will be, when you think about the density of events, this self-delivery is a huge deal, by the way. This is a huge PR thing. Robotaxis are coming, Optimus is coming, and this is all happening in the next 6 months, kind of. It's going to be a wild ride. That's why I'm so bullish right now, also tactically, like on a mid and short term level.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and change the topic. Let's get into that. Elon's return. Another post that he just made was this post. He said, "As my scheduled time as a special government employee comes to an end, I would like to thank President Donald Trump for the opportunity to reduce wasteful spending. The Doge mission will only strengthen over time as it becomes a way of life throughout the government." So basically, he's officially saying, "Hey, my time as a special government employee is ending. Thank you for that." So, Alexandra, what's your thinking about that statement?
First of all, I would like to reiterate that we should really all thank Elon. What he has taken on, nobody else wanted to take on, nobody else had the guts to take on, and nobody else had the knowledge how to take it on. He did in 3 months, between end of January and end of April, wonders. He's very upset, and I understand it, that Congress is not as delighted about cuts than needed. So he feels, there's still much progress to be made. But what he has initiated and what is currently in place is the best start ever to something that is direly needed. But it's not enough. And I think he realized it's not enough. And the bureaucracy, in a certain way, has won, just because the bureaucracy is just enormous. And his response to bureaucracy is robots. And so one of the reasons, very clearly, to come back to Tesla and to come back to all his other companies, we can probably talk about SpaceX in a moment, but to everything, even on X, he clearly understands that the focus has to be to make America's GDP much stronger. If you can't do it by cutting spending, well, you have to increase it by being more productive. And I think we talked about this example before. China has an average hourly rate, I think, of $2 to $3. I don't remember the exact number. If they bring that down with bots to 30 cents, well, fair enough. America has an average hourly wage rate, all costs together, of $70. If you bring that down to 30 cents, you have such an enormous saving that America is going to profit much more from all this than China is. And he sees that. He sees exactly what is possible. He also sees that there will be bad actors in robots. He also sees how important it is to have control over Tesla, control over XAI. So there's so many things, so many important things happening in the next coming weeks and months and short years that his focus has to be here again. And he put into place at Doge what needed to be put in place. And they're going to fight against the windmills of bureaucracy now. And he's going to certainly keep an eye on it. But he's back there where we need him most.
I think Alexandra is spot on. I think it's incredibly important that he did that for two reasons. Number one, it's important for the United States to set a new standard of, waste, fraud, and abuse fighting and open everyone's mind. But maybe even more important, it's important for Elon and his learning curve in his brain. Because I can guarantee you what he has seen, not many other people have seen. He has basically opened the belly of the beast and has seen, oh my God, this is a little different than I thought. I expected the worst, but that's way worse than the worst. And he also realized he cannot defeat that monster. And there is no way to defeat the deep state. And I think they made this very clear to him. You are not at Twitter anymore. Don't mess with us. And he understood the message. And at the same time, he learned tremendous things that I think will come in very handy in the future to really deeply understand what's really going on there. So yeah, to Alexandra's point, I think the bureaucracy won. I think we are in a terrible fiscal situation. The big, beautiful bill is a total mess, as we know. And everything goes through the roof, the debt, and you cannot stop it. That's, I think, the takeaway here. And you're dealing with forces beyond what's normal. And so Elon decided, okay, this is not the hill I want to die on, because I would die on it. And it's not worth it. I rather go here. Not just because he thinks he can fix the economy this way. I think he knows there's a giant problem that we haven't solved, but he just realized we cannot solve this problem. We have to start something else. So it's a very interesting thing. And that's one of the rare occasions where an innovator and disruptor like Elon actually failed to do the thing, but that's like the ultimate end boss. How do you call this? Like the boss.
It is, isn't it? The government.
That is the ultimate boss. And the DC guys were right. Good luck trying to change this. And I think, it's not just the bureaucracy you're dealing with and people who don't want to move like a corporation. I think you're dealing with a whole different set of problems. I can't even
that's
imagine
good news.
if you go into the CIA or Pentagon and tell them I'm cutting your jobs, they might tell you, well, we cut something else if you do that. And it's a whole different. And I think he got the message that, okay, this is not
Ball game.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a good news for Tesla investors, because he said he's going to come back and accelerate robots and autonomy. That's what's going to change the GDP. Cern, you did a lot of work estimating what does it mean to actually move the needle on the GDP for those two Tesla products. Yeah.
I've actually done quite a bit of thinking about this, and the numbers are a little fuzzy, but I think directionally it's right. First of all, just let me add to what Joe and Alexandra just said. To me, the roadblock is not so much the bureaucracy in Washington or even the politicians. It's who put them there in the first place and who keeps them there, right? They have their constituents, people that have funded their campaigns, that expect certain behavior, and they're getting it. And so the one way for Elon to deal with all that is to make those folks irrelevant. Who are some of those folks? The auto industry, the oil and gas industry, unions, right? There's a lot of very powerful forces in those places. And so if you can change the world so that there is no auto industry anymore, so that oil and gas eventually is no more, we move to a sustainable energy world instead of an extraction world. Robot labor, you don't have unions anymore, right? So that's the way to fix that problem, is to get rid of the source of the problem first. It's not so much the politicians, which are kind of the puppets, in my opinion, right? And I think maybe Elon was maybe a little bit naive, maybe a little bit too hopeful about all that. I'm glad he's had the experience, because I think now he's resolved to do what he needs to do to grow our way out of it. Okay, so to get back to your question, Herbert. So based on my model, Elon's talked about, autonomy having an impact on GDP in the next 1 to 2 years, the humanoid robots next 4 to 5 years. Based on my model, it looks like a Tesla by 2039 could have about $1 trillion of revenue from Robotaxi and Optimus combined. 2029. Sorry if I misspoke. Yep. Right. Now maybe 2030, something like that. Okay. So that would move the needle on GDP, but that's just the direct impact on GDP. You also have to factor in the indirect impact on GDP from the use of these things, right? GDP doesn't just increase because you made robots. GDP also increases because you're using the robots to do things with them in the economy. Now, the question is how much? So I did a little research on this, and again, the numbers here are a little bit fuzzy, but for Apple and the introduction of the iPhone, Apple has increased GDP directly by making iPhone and so on by the tune of about $1 trillion since 2007 through 2024. Okay. The estimates are that the indirect impact from iPhone is 5 to 7 trillion. So about 15% of the GDP impact came from Apple itself making and selling the phone and employing people and all that. This is, by the way, in the US, not global. And 85% of the impact of GDP came from the use of the iPhone, the development of the App Store and allowing people to create businesses and software and all kinds of services around the iPhone. So if we apply that to Tesla, again, the similar numbers, potentially over the next 5 years, about $1 trillion of direct impact. It could be another as much as 5 to 7 trillion, maybe more, of indirect impact. If Tesla can do that, that is absolutely enormous from a GDP standpoint. Okay. Right now, our GDP is last year is about 29 trillion. In 5 years, it would probably get to about almost 40 trillion just on if it's just growing normally. So if we're adding another 6 to 8 trillion on top of that because of Robotaxi and Optimus, that is a significant impact. So those are some rough numbers around what the impact could be for Tesla, and potentially it's enormous. Maybe it's not in the next 5 years. Maybe Elon's timeline is wrong about that, but still, in the next 10 years, absolutely. This is going to be a profound impact for GDP.
Oh, wow. That's great research, Cern. You and I will do another show in the future to dive deeper into that. Do you guys think that Elon, what does it mean for Tesla? That he's saying, okay, I need to, help. I can't do the cutting costs on the government side. I've got to increase GDP. Does that mean he's going to double down? Does it mean he's going to accelerate robots? Does that mean anything more than just his conviction that this is the right path? Do you guys think that his trajectory has changed?
No, he's just more focused. And more focused doesn't automatically translate in quicker and higher output. It just means, better output, more focused output. So I do believe the timelines he gave us in the earnings call are still, it's only a month and a half ago, a good month ago. So I think those are still, the guidelines to follow. But it's just, the focus has shifted. The focus has shifted from trying to make the best situation out of Doge and the government to, okay, I tried, continue trying, you guys, to I'm back and I have to catch up on maybe a lack of focus for the first 3 months of the years, but now we're all steam ahead.
I want to point out one thing, because it came out of left field for me, that I think was very interesting. Not Optimus, not Robotaxi. His comment on energy. Because he, I think he realizes more and more after talking to Trump and being in the government how strategically important energy is. He knows Jensen Huang very well. He sees now all the AI trajectories. So there's a massive energy need, a massive energy need. And when he said, I'm thinking about how to deploy a terawatt or whatever, he said, I think there's something coming. I don't know if it's Tesla, could be another startup, because I don't know what he's brewing there, but it could be very well Tesla. It could be solar, it could be better, it could be some massive thing. And so I think that's a little not in anyone's model, I think, if it's some kind of disruptive thing. And I could tell that he's triggered by it in a positive way. It's like one of these Elon missions, because that's a mission worth doing. It's like, oh yeah, just double the energy output of the United States in 2 years. So that would be very interesting. And I think that, of course, Tesla is in a prime position to participate somehow.
Yeah. I just interviewed Larry Goldberg, and he made that prediction. He says that the cost to create 1 terawatt hour is too big for Tesla. He thinks that Elon's going to create another net new company. to deal with that specific one.
Could be.
With energy?
Mm.
Why would he? I mean, if he needs any money in Tesla, it's easy to get it. Why would he start from scratch?
The reason to start from scratch would only be from an employee standpoint, in my opinion. If the people you needed to attract wanted to be part of a startup rather than a big established company like Tesla. But that's...
I mean, I understand that in artificial intelligence. I understand it less in energy.
Right.
And I do believe that will be the first time where Tesla shareholders would hiccup, because you have energy within Tesla. You have made all this development, and now you would set up company B, non-public, of course. I mean, in his life, he's not going to go public with anything anymore. He's learned that lesson, and hence not having us retail shareholders participate. I don't think so. I don't think that's the way he's wired. I don't think that's a project. I understand completely why he did it for XAI. I also fully understand why he took X private. That was the right decision. We'll see the IPO of Starlink before we see the IPO of SpaceX. All this I fully understand, but I don't see him setting up a private company for energy now.
That's why we need Alexandra, because I would be pissed if he does it outside Tesla.
Oh, I would be pissed. Yeah, I can tell you straight away. I would be pissed too. So
Joe and Cern, you guys are going to have to redefine your forecast, because this sounds like to me that right now you guys have Robotaxi, and then you have robots taking over. This sounds like energy division could be bigger than.
Well, but I'm all about speculating about the future once I have something to work with, but this is too opaque for me right now. I need to know, what are we dealing with? Yeah. Is that solar? Is it nuclear? What is it? So, but I agree I think Alexandra's case is very important to me also as a shareholder. Like, don't do it outside Tesla. I would be a little pissed, because it depends. If it's nuclear, he could argue, well, it's not Tesla, it's a totally different thing, but who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, you have all seen that President Trump signed all these executive orders to permit very quickly the nuclear plants that are in play. I don't think Elon is into nuclear plant construction or whatever. I think he's on the sustainable mega pack, all these things, yes.
Yeah.
But not energy production. I don't think so. But
no. Wait. No. He's getting into energy generation. He is getting into energy production. That is guaranteed, Alexandra.
But not nuclear.
Not nuclear. I agree with you. It's going to be solar and energy pack. Correct. You just said not
there
energy
you come
generation.
With those solar fields again. Oh my gosh, Herbert. This has been going on for years. You've been wrong. You've been wrong for how many years?
Until I'm right. Okay, we'll see.
Until you're right. Yeah. Well,
I wanted to ask you, at the moment, we're talking about Elon coming back, him making that announcement. I'm done with Doge. Thank you. But same time, you've got, Alexandra, this pension fund saying that, hey, we want Elon to spend 40 hours a week.
Yes.
And so it's a group of pension fund leaders, and they sent a letter to the company's board saying, hey, Elon needs to be working at least 40 hours per week. Said we faced the crisis when he wasn't here. EV sales declined when he wasn't here. And what they're asking for is they want him to work that minimum hours, but they also want a clear succession plan for management of the EV business, and a policy that would apply to all Tesla directors, limiting their outside board commitments at public and private companies. This letter was signed by this pro-labor SOC investment group, American Federation of Teachers, New York City Comptroller, and Oregon State Treasurer.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts
on this?
So
these people we know because last year they wrote a letter advising to vote against the Elon compensation package. Okay, so these are always the same charming people. They hold, because they have to hold Tesla. It's because they're tracking indices, and in the indices there is Tesla, right? All of them together with their big mouth hold 0.25% of Tesla. So it's not a lot. If they would go away, nobody would care. The second point is that this clearly indicates to me that these institutional investors think there is currently a bargaining time. Remember, Herbert, in last week's session, we discussed that there's not a special committee in place. We don't know when the proxy will come. We don't know when the shareholder meeting will be, because we think they are going to try to see with the largest shareholders, not with these weasels, but with the large shareholders, Vanguard, BlackRock, whatever, what they can put in place for Elon's compensation, right? And for other topics. I have the feeling there's an avalanche of complicated topics that they want to bring forward. And so these advisory groups who do nothing else, they don't do cyberballs, they don't do day jobs, they don't do Elon's jobs, they do nothing else than think about stupid stuff like that. They sense that there is currently negotiations going on and want to have their word to say, because as a shareholder, if you have been holding shares for more than a year, you can bring proposals forward and bring them into the proxy. So they didn't want to do that because that's a little bit more complicated. So they did this letter to Robin Denholm, because they felt, this was the moment they could also try to participate in this bargaining, and this is what they want. But what this really is virtue signaling to their constituents, right? This is not really meant for Robin Denholm, and this is not really meant for Elon to start clocking in and clocking out. I mean, you got to be kidding me. This is meant, look, my Democratic friends and my teachers union and whatever, look, we're doing our job. We're telling them, ho, ho, ho. And these people also don't work at, with the laser focus of Elon, nor at the speed of Elon. So these people have been having meetings and discussing this for the last 6 months. So these decisions were taken in the heat of the moment in March, April, when the world decided they wanted to hate on Elon, and they felt, oh, this was now really good to show their muscles. So they're seeing this little negotiating windows. They want to virtue signal to their own constituents, and they feel that, this gave them the headline. Now their name was out on CNBC. It gave them a little bit of a prestige. They have put something in their press folder. Wonderful. To be ignored immediately.
I mean,
it hurts my heart that you brought it.
Teacher Federation, Oregon, and New York. That's all you need to know. Like, they are not thinking, they don't even know what a stock is, right? They're thinking, how do we please our democratic, little fanatics and show that Elon is very bad and try to get on his nerves. That's the mission.
Thank you for setting that up, because it's as silly as saying Elon should have, Elon should be holding 20 committee meetings every week. That's what they need to be doing. It's like, that's how you do things. Okay. Well, you know what? It's May 29th. We're about to have Robotaxi launch. It's already happening, but somewhere maybe June 12th, maybe there's no launch, but it's happening now this month. The other thing that we have to talk about then is before the end of June, they're supposed to have 2 new vehicle launches, or at least these more affordable vehicles being announced. How do you guys see that now happening? Is there going to be if it is a formal launch, which I believe they shouldn't they already announce it today for tomorrow, for this month?
What are you talking about? No, this is going to be the quickest launch, because we don't want any Osborning. We want to, this is going to be the big surprise. Everybody will be concentrated on these videos of the Robotaxis, and there it will be. And there may be a ribbon cutting, and there may be something, and we all may get invites, who knows? And then we'll have to quickly go to Austin. But there will be something, There will be the tunnel, and there will be the car, and there will be the Elon.
So you're thinking maybe June 12th. Let's say that is the real date. Let's say that was correct. Would they hold this on the same day?
No, this will be another Thursday. Thursday. So
you're thinking maybe June 23rd they'll announce it, and then the event will be June 30th.
Well, June 23rd is not a Thursday. June 26th maybe one, but it could also be July, beginning of July. I don't think we're at 1 or 2 weeks.
Difference is a big deal.
If we flip over into July, whatever. But I do believe there will be still the release of the new cars with an event, and the tunnel, the blue light, everything. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, Herbert, because I've never cared so little about a new product from Tesla.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? But you should care. So the idea being that if this is a more affordable vehicles, it should open up a massive new TAM, massive. This isn't just,
You've listened too much to Gary Black and Mayur and the cat. You've listened to them for much too much.
What? Why? Because
Well,
they're
because
all
it really
robo
doesn't
taxis.
matter.
They are all
Exactly.
they're all
That's
robo
exactly
taxis.
it. That's exactly it. All it is robo taxis in different form factors. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's
In
great.
fact, the theory is that this new, let's say it is a Model Y variant, and it's more affordable than the current Model Y. This along with the Cybercab are going to be the basic form factors for the Robotaxi program. Makes sense, right?
I mean, what would be cool? I think one cool surprise, the only thing that I might be excited about this thing is if it comes in a version without a steering wheel. That would be very cool, which is imaginable. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like the Cybertruck where you can just pull it out easily later.
Yeah, steer by wire, and then you just
steer by wire. Yeah, wasn't it Lars Morvey who said one time that the steering wheel can be pulled out, can be made to the left side, it can be moved to the right side. Yeah.
I think that could be a bigger deal. That's the only thing I'm a little excited about because of the visual effect, right? If you actually have a steering wheel-less car of some sort, some Model Y variant, that's a huge deal just from a marketing perspective.
The reason that the more affordable version of this Model Y, that vehicle that we're talking about, makes most sense for Robotaxi is because it is more affordable, number one, but also that they're going to design it to be closer to the Cybercab where it's easier to clean, less likely to be, the crevices and all that. It's cheaper material inside, so you don't have to, worry about the cost of damage and those kind of things. It makes much more sense.
Yeah,
it's kind of halfway designed.
I think it's super boring to, it's fine to have an affordable car and then people buy it and there's a bigger TAM, that's all fine, but it's a little boring. I think the more that thing has a version that is like a hybrid to the Cybercab, even if it's just tweaks, like the doors are a little different, easier to clean, no steering wheel, I think that's super hot. Because then people become even more aware, oh God, this is a new thing, the new era is here.
The car analyst will be happy. Have something to do something with it.
I'm not a car analyst, Alexandra.
It feels like, discussing the differences between the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 16. It doesn't matter because that's not where the money comes from anymore.
Except that they're Robotaxis, Alexandra. That's what I'm saying. It is still the version
and still,
that they're going to
and still, even the Robotaxi, it's not the form factor that's the important thing. It's like that it drives itself. So it's, as for the phone, the most important is that it's this platform for all the apps.
Mm-hmm.
The same happens here. The car itself, and that's what actually is going to kill all these OEMs because they have been selling cars on looks, on size of cup holders, on whatever else schnick-schnack that they wanted to put in there. And that's just old world. It's finished. And I agree with Joe. It doesn't really, of course, more and nicer cars and cheaper cars, everything's wonderful, but that's not where it's happening anymore.
Okay.
And the thing that seems to be missing to me from the lineup is a small van. We have the RoboVan, fine, that's coming. It's a big vehicle. We need a smaller van type thing, right? If we're looking at meeting all the different needs that are out there. Do we really need a smaller Model Y? I don't really understand how that gets us anywhere if we're looking at robotaxi opportunities, right? So I'm still puzzled by this whole affordable model thing. I would rather Tesla focus on getting the Cybercab in production and out there. And if this is an intermediate
next year.
Yeah, but if this is an intermediate step to that, then why waste the engineering time to do all that?
Initially, we had this unboxed model and all that. And then they said, no, we can't do that with the 2025 models yet. That's going to be the next step. So there is now this thing in the middle. And there's also was this article in the information. Remember when they said that Elon said, no, we can all that. We're just focusing on Robotaxi now. So I'm still puzzled. Will there be one car? Will there be two cars? We'll see. I couldn't care less, honestly. This is not what it's all about.
I think it's the plan B. And then it turned out that Elon was correct, that Robotaxi is coming. It is here. It is happening. Regulation is opening up and allowing for this. And so, this is like timing wise, right? Just in case Robotaxi is delayed by 2-3 years, you've got this ready to go. But it happened that Elon is right. Robotaxi is coming now. And so these things become less important. They were just the plan B.
By the way, one thing I have to comment on because it's my favorite thing, like this, where the thinking the worldviews diverge so much that people get hurt because they're doing the wrong investment decisions. This idea that Elon says something and he says it in 2016, it's coming next year, and he's wrong, and he's wrong, and he's wrong, and he's wrong. There are two types of thinkers around that. There's the conventional analyst says if someone is 8 times wrong, it's 8 times more likely he's wrong again than the first time. Whereas I say, no, it's like 100 times less likely he's wrong again. Because it's like, I always compared about the invasion of Normandy or something. If you had a setup, that's people think, oh, they invaded, they tried last year, and now they have less soldiers, so they're going to lose. When in fact, every time they try, they have 10 times more soldiers. That's how innovation works. Every time they try, they have way more progress, exponentially more progress every year. So with every year they don't succeed, they become exponentially more likely to succeed if you have the machine behind it that Tesla has. And that's the most fascinating thing. That's why I thought like it's actually like exponentially more likely, and it's like 100% guaranteed if they would fail now that it's happening 2026. Whereas Gary Black thinks, well, they had tried 9 times. They're guaranteed to fail.
I agree with you. Somebody said this makes sense. They said that Robotaxi has already launched, right? For the past several days, Tesla has been testing self-driving Model Y cars on Austin public streets with no incidents. It's already launched. And then, here we are not realizing that the most important, date milestone that we've been waiting for kind of happened already.
Yeah,
but they already had the pilots in California. So
the fact that somebody's paying or not paying doesn't really matter. But certainly that is a key moment, right? First paid ride. I mean, you start the clock on that. That's important. But I hear your point, right? They're operating autonomously on Austin roads already. That's already happened.
Yeah, we are here. So one more time, Alexandra, just confirm to people, because I did read somebody say, does this mean if, let's say it is true that June 12th is the Robotaxi launch, will they hold the shareholder meeting on June 13th? Can you explain to people that that's not going to happen?
Sure. That's not going to happen. So we're taping this on 29th of May. We still don't have the proxy. Let's say we would have the proxy tomorrow. I don't think so, but let's just assume this for a moment. The shareholder meeting would then be earliest 6 weeks later. So that would bring us already into July 10th or something like that. So this is not going to happen. The shareholder meeting is not going to happen before mid of July. Typically, it's on a Thursday. So we're already really in the middle of July then. And the way it's going, with no indications on things solved, and Elon still, SpaceX talk and lots of things happening, I have the feeling it's rather going to be later than as soon as middle of July. Could be late July, could even be August. So don't expect the shareholder meeting. Once we have the proxy, we then have 6 weeks to vote. The only thing I would like today to tell people is if you are invested in ETFs, tracker ETFs or whatever ETFs you have, think twice with whom you have them. Schwab and State Street ETFs have voted against Elon and against Tesla's interest in last year's vote. So if your ETF is just an S&P 500 tracker and is currently with Schwab or with State Street, think of moving them to somebody else. I've posted this morning again who were the ones that voted for Elon. Put it by the same tracker, but from another fund manager. They all do the same stuff anyway. They all have the same things in them, but move it so that you don't give your vote to people that are voting against Tesla.
Great information. That's so critical. Thank you for keeping us always aware of what's happening. Governance is so critical for Tesla, especially now, and the votes are important. I just wanted to reiterate what you're saying here, because the reason why they've got a special committee, it's most likely is because they're going to be announcing some sort of thing that we all need to vote on that is important to Tesla. And most likely it's going to be Elon's next new compensation plan. And so it's very important they vote at this coming up. We'll find out when they drop the proxy exactly what this is, but it's going to be very, very important, right?
It is. It's going to be important, and I have the feeling it's going to be more than that. There could be a variety of things. It could be the introduction of Class B shares. It could be the new the third compensation package, nothing to do with the 2018. The 2018, in my view, they will leave where it is because it's still in appeal, and I think they'll just sit it out until the appeal is over. But there's so many other things they can vote on now that were in Texas. For example, I was explaining all week about the options that Robin Denholm and Ira and Kimball have been selling, but our board has not had any stock options since 2020, and they handed back most of the options they got between 2017 and 2020. So they may also consider now a new board remuneration. There are 3 board members that will need to be re-voted on. So there are many, many things that are going to be in this proxy. So make sure you know where your shares are. Look at where you have your ETFs. If your ETFs are with Schwab and State Street, please consider that you want to leave them. And then get ready to vote once we're there. We'll help everybody to understand what to do and how to do it. It's not complicated, but we need everybody and anybody. We're this time in the minority, so we really have to get out.
Yeah, so right now the institutions hold 57.6% of the float,
Yes.
which is flipped, because before retail was much stronger. Now they're stronger, which means that we need every retail investor to vote when this comes around. So we'll do more shows to promote that.
Correct.
Okay, nobody's excited about the new vehicles? Come on, man.
I'm excited if they don't have steering wheels, if there's a mini Robotaxi cybercab variant or something. This Model
I may be
Y.
excited if they're nice colors, like colors like my, I have some color options.
All right. Well,
I would be
but
excited
nobody
if it was
thinks
the Roadster.
Nah. Okay.
Not going to be the Roadster.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But that would excite me. That's a vehicle that I can't wait to see.
Yeah. Well, that's unless it's a
should-
Robotaxi.
After
we-
the Golden Cyber Beast.
Right.
We should have a Tesla Boomer Mama special edition with these colors.
Right? A striped car? Striped car? I want
Yeah, this color would sell, I tell you.
it. Yeah. There's nobody as crazy as me, is there?
Well, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much to Alexandra. Follow her on her X account, Tesla Boomer Mama. You got Cern Basher. Subscribe to him. He's got all the charts and forecasts. And so does Joe Bhakdi. He has his own forecast as well. They're actually kind of aligned. We did a show one time and it looked like you approved of each other's. So it sounds like we're all aligned here. Thank you very much.
Joe's the best.
Cern's the best.
Cern has the best charts. I'm always jealous when I see the charts.
See you guys. Bye, all.
Thanks, Herbert.
You'll take
See ya.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.